On July 7, 2019, police in Chun'an County in the city of Hangzhou received a very concerned phone call from Zhang Jun, the father of a 9-year-old daughter. He was calling to report the young girl as missing. However, the situation wasn't a clear-cut missing person case. His daughter was supposed to have been taken to Shanghai by a couple who were renting a room in her grandparents' home. The couple had claimed they were going to attend a friend's wedding and wanted the girl to be a flower bearer. The couple had promised to return the girl by the previous day, but that had passed and they were now out of contact. The phone call prompted a nationwide search for the girl, and what would follow was a bizarre case that will probably never be truly explained. Soon images of the missing 9-year-old Zhang Zi Xin were broadcast around the country, on news bulletins, online, on social media, and big screens in cities. For a time she became the most recognizable face in the country. But there were questions immediately about who the people she was supposed to be with were, and where had they gone. The man was named as Liang Denghua, and the woman as Xie Yanfang, who were both from Guangdong province and had no close relationship with the family of Zhang Zi Xin. As the country looked out for the young girl and mystery couple, slowly more information about the situation would start to come out. Zhang Zi Xin was being raised by her grandparents in Qingxi village, Hangzhou city. The grandparents ran a fruit stall in the town while taking care of the girl. Having the grandparents take care of children while the parents find work in other cities is a fairly common practice in China. It was her father's parents who were taking care of Zhang Zi Xin. At the time Zhang Zi Xin went missing, her father was living and working in the northeastern city of Tianjin, some 1,100 kilometers away from Hangzhou. At the same time, her mother was living and working at the other end of the country, in Dongguan, in the southern province of Guangdong. Her parents had been separated for some time, and Zhang Zi Xin hadn't seen her mother for almost 8 years. Zhang Jun met his future wife and the mother of Zhang Zi Xin when she was only 17 years old and he was a number of years older. Their marriage was actually illegal, with her being too young to be able to marry lawfully, but these things were often overlooked in rural areas. The two did not have much of a happy marriage, reportedly getting into arguments frequently and being unsuited as a couple. Zhang Zi Xin was said to be a child who would find it easy to get attached to people, and it was believed this was down to the lack of relationship she had with her mother. Never seeing her and only very occasionally talking to her on the phone. Unfortunately, it seems she grew an attachment to the new tenants living in her grandparents' home. Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang were new to the area and had been staying in a hotel. They would get to know the grandparents of Zhang Zi Xin from buying fruit off them at a stall they ran. The couple from Guangdong province were staying in the 7A Inn, a budget hotel chain. Staff at the hotel would say the pair generally stayed in their room in the morning before hanging out in the lobby for most of the afternoon, only leaving the hotel for any significant time in the evenings. While buying fruit from the grandparents of Zhang Zi Xin, they complained about the cost of the hotel room. The grandparents had spare rooms in their family home and offered to rent one out to Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang at a cheaper rate than the hotel room. They thought the couple were pleasant people and it was a chance to earn a bit of extra money. The grandparents' home, while being in a rural area, actually overlooked Qiandao Lake, otherwise known as Thousand Island Lake. This made the area fairly popular with visitors who wanted to spend their holidays away from the more popular and often overcrowded tourist trap of West Lake in Hangzhou City. As a result, many elderly people, whose children had moved away, rented out the empty rooms as homestays. This meant the young Zhang Zi Xin was comfortable about being around strangers. She would often go to other houses in the village, wanting to meet the new people, hoping to find some playmates. So when Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang moved into the home, Zhang Zi Xin quickly formed an attachment to them, and the couple from Guangdong seemed to enjoy being around the happy and friendly 9-year-old girl. Her grandparents didn't think there was anything strange when their new tenants suggested taking Zhang Zi Xin to their friend's wedding in Shanghai to be a flower bearer. In fact, they thought it would be a nice treat for their granddaughter. It was the school holiday, her father was in Tianjin, her mother in Dongguan, and they were too old to take the girl on a trip. Shanghai wasn't too far away, only 200 kilometers away from Hangzhou, and the young girl was excited about the prospect of going there with her new friends. Her father, however, did not like the sound of it. He had no idea who these people were, and didn't want his daughter to go anywhere with him. The only way Zhang Jun would allow his daughter to go was if her grandfather could go with them. Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang agreed to this, and so Zhang Jun gave his blessing. A decision that would have a tragic outcome. On the 4th of July, Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang left the village with a happy Zhang Zi Xin in tow. However, the girl's grandfather wasn't with them. The couple had managed to persuade them that it was unnecessary for him to go with them. They would be back in 3 days and they could remain in contact using WeChat, the Chinese WhatsApp. This would be the last time her grandparents would see Zhang Zi Xin alive face to face. On the 8th of July, 2 bodies were discovered by a search team in Dongqian Lake, in the city of Ningbo, 150 kilometers from Hangzhou. The 2 bodies belonged to Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang. However, there was no sign of the 9-year-old Zhang Zi Xin. The couple had died from drowning. There were no marks or injuries on the bodies and their coats were tied together. CCTV footage later showed the pair hugging each other before walking into the lake holding hands. Now they had to find Zhang Zi Xin. The police had already been onto the couple, managing to get images of them in different cities, but were always a step behind. Now they had found the bodies, they could work backwards in the hopes of finding out where Zhang Zi Xin was. After leaving the village on July 4th, Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang didn't go to Shanghai as they claimed they would. In fact, there was no friends wedding at all. Instead, they headed south to the city of Zhangzhou in Fujian province over 1,000 kilometers, in the opposite direction, away from Shanghai. People who remembered seeing the 3 of them together didn't notice anything unusual at all. They appeared to simply be a family on vacation. They spent their time in Zhangzhou visiting the popular seaside tourist destination Maluan Bay, as if they were just a mother and father with their daughter. Zhang Jun, however, was not happy that his parents had allowed his daughter to go with the strangers. He got in contact with Liang Denghua through his WeChat. His concerns would lessen a touch as he could now speak directly to Zhang Zi Xin and see videos of her with the couple. He would stay in regular contact with the man that was with his daughter. Liang Denghua promised Zhang Jun that they would be returning to Hangzhou with Zhang Zi Xin on July 7th. At 4 a.m. on July 6th, Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang traveled to the city of Shantou in Guangdong province, some 200 kilometers further south from Hangzhou, with Zhang Zi Xin. Liang Denghua would share a video on his WeChat wall of Zhang Zi Xin sleeping soundly on the journey. He titled the video, "Claimed a Daughter," but it was later deleted. After arriving in Shantou, the 3 of them would check into a hotel around 7 in the morning. They then checked out at 1:30 in the afternoon of the same day. Their movements would then become increasingly strange. At around 3 in the afternoon, they went to Chaoyang train station and boarded a high-speed train to the city of Xiamen, which took them back to Fujian province, which they had only just left in the early hours of the morning. In fact, Xiamen was only 55 kilometers from Zhangzhou, while Shantou was 200 kilometers away. In Xiamen, they would board the train that took them to Ningbo city, still 200 kilometers away from Hangzhou. They arrived in Ningbo at almost 11 in the evening of July 6th and checked into a hotel. The following day, Zhang Jun asked when they will be returning to Hangzhou. Liang Denghua told him they would spend the day in Ningbo, then return. Zhang Jun said if his daughter wasn't returned today, the agreed date, that he would go to the police. Liang Denghua assured him that they would just spend some time exploring the sites in Ningbo and return Zhang Zi Xin home by 7 o'clock that evening. The trio would explore various sites in the city, taking taxis to the different locations. They took photos and uploaded videos to TikTok. Once again, people who remembered seeing them together thought it was just a family on vacation. Then at around 5 p.m. Zhang Jun received a message from his daughter. She said, "Daddy, I can't come home today." Liang Denghua then said his phone was low on battery and his charger was broken. Zhang Jun called the police immediately and reported his daughter as missing, were taken. He then got on the first high-speed train he could to get to Hangzhou. Only 20 minutes after the exchange, the trio were at the doors of the Gold Coast Hotel and spent some time on the beaches in the Songlan Mountain scenic area. Some of the area was undergoing construction due to the upcoming Asian Games due to be held. The trio were spotted on CCTV walking towards one of the areas that was undergoing construction. By now, Liang Denghua was carrying Zhang Zi Xin. This was at around 7:20 in the evening, the time that Zhang Zi Xin should have been back home with her family. The next sighting was hours later at 10:20. Once again, Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang appeared on CCTV, but this time Zhang Zi Xin wasn't with them. Unfortunately, all of this was discovered after the bodies of Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang had been fished out of the lake. The police gave as much information as they could to the public, in the faint hope that they might be able to find Zhang Zi Xin alive. A massive search operation got underway, not just in the city of Ningbo. Police forces in Zhangzhou and Shantou were also out in force in their cities, looking for evidence or anything that might help them find the girl alive. On July 10th, the ID card of Zhang Zi Xin was discovered on a beach, close to where she was last seen on CCTV. Then 2 days later, the news everyone had been dreading came through. A body had been found in the waters of an area known as Xipu fishing port. The body had been spotted 16 nautical miles offshore by a fishing boat returning to the port. The fishermen secured the area, keeping watch over the body until the police could arrive. It would be identified as the missing 9-year-old Zhang Zi Xin. An autopsy later confirmed that the cause of death was drowning, and there were no other marks or injuries to the child. Now the questions were what happened, and who were Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang. Liang Denghua hailed from the city of Maoming in Guangdong province, but his family, and other people in the village he was born in, hadn't seen him for many years. In fact, some people were surprised to see that he was still alive when images of him were being broadcast around the country. He left the village many years ago due to owing people money. He walked out on his wife and child and never saw or contacted them again. When his father died, he didn't return for the funeral, and when his mother developed a serious illness, no one was able to contact him. Most just assumed he was dead. Xie Yanfang had a very similar background. She too was from Maoming, but a different area. She had a number of brothers and sisters as Liang Denghua did. She had left her village because she owed a number of people money, both family members and other people from the village. However, she would maintain some level of contact with her family and very occasionally return. This would mostly be to try and borrow more money from her family. When her mother got sick, she tried to use it as a chance to scam her brothers and sisters. She claimed she could get some special medicine from America if they gave her 50,000 RMB. Knowing her as they did, her siblings refused. This angered Xie Yanfang, and she left the village and never returned. Both Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang moved around a number of cities in Guangdong province, working various jobs. Their paths crossed sometime in 2005, and they began a relationship. They never registered a marriage in their time together, and never had children. They had both isolated themselves from their families and didn't seem to have any issues doing the same with friends, usually by borrowing money from people and refusing to pay it back. After 2017, there was little employment record for the couple. The police discovered they were traveling around China, visiting a number of cities covering the entire country. The couple would present themselves as wealthy to the people who met them, claiming they were looking to buy property in the area they were in at the time, talking about the many luxury cars they owned. When they left the city, they had a strange habit of leaving the luggage and personal items they arrived with. At the time of their death, they only had 30 RMB, just $4 in their bank accounts. Now people knew more about the killer couple. They wanted to know why they killed Zhang Zi Xin. The police only made the facts of the case public and didn't give any explanation why they ended the life of the 9-year-old girl. This may have been to protect the family or because they didn't know. With no explanation offered, people looked at the evidence and tried to fill in the blanks with their own ideas or theories. The first thing that came to mind was that the couple were trafficking Zhang Zi Xin to be assaulted. Only days before Zhang Zi Xin was taken from her home, there was an arrest in Shanghai of a prominent and powerful businessman. Wang Zhenhua was the chairman of Metro Holdings Group, a massive real estate company said to be worth around 300 billion RMB, about $40 million. He was arrested for the molestation of a 9-year-old girl. The girl had told her mother about the assault in a phone call. The girl had been taken to Shanghai by a woman who had befriended her mother, Zhou Yanfen. Zhou Yanfen offered to take the woman's 2 daughters to Disneyland in Shanghai. Instead, she booked into a 5-star hotel and introduced them to Wang Zhenhua. The other girl was only 12. Zhou Yanfen was paid 100,000 RMB per girl, around $13,000. Hotel surveillance showed Wang Zhenhua taking the 9-year-old girl into the hotel room and coming out 13 minutes later, when he then transferred the payment to Zhou Yanfen. In his trial, Wang Zhenhua pleaded not guilty, laughably claiming he only hugged the girl, while forensic evidence proved otherwise. Zhou Yanfen confessed that she had been finding young girls for Wang Zhenhua for some time. She was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Wang Zhenhua was sentenced to 5. With Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang saying they were going to take Zhang Zi Xin to Shanghai, people were quick to connect the two crimes. However, since they never went to Shanghai, it is almost impossible to know if they ever intended on taking Zhang Zi Xin there. Then there was the idea put forward that the mother of Zhang Zi Xin was somehow involved. Xie Yanfang had spent some time in the past working in Dongguan, the same city where the mother of Zhang Zi Xin lived and worked. It was suggested that the two women may have known each other. Some people felt it was a possibility that the couple were asked to bring the woman's daughter to Dongguan. However, given that she had little contact with her daughter after the breakup of the marriage, it would seem unlikely that she would pay someone to bring the girl to her. And there was never anything to suggest that she ever met the couple. When the theory circulated online, the father of Zhang Zi Xin, Zhang Jun, rubbished it. He took the blame for the breakup of the marriage and said his ex-wife had nothing to do with the incident. People who had managed to look through the social media accounts of Liang Denghua before they were shut down noticed that he seemed to be a religious man. In particular, he seemed to be a believer in the Three Mountains King. The Three Mountain King is a deity in Taoism, often worshipped by people from Guangdong or Taiwan. Due to Liang Denghua having a number of images of the god on his social media accounts, people came to believe his actions were related to cult activity. The police were quick to dismiss this though. The Three Mountain King is a protective figure who watches over the local and oversees Chinese people from Chaoshan in Guangdong province. There is no relationship between it and cults. So while it may have seemed strange for people who don't follow the religion, someone from the south having a strong belief in the god wasn't a sign of anything unusual. There was also unsubstantiated rumors that either Liang Denghua or Xie Yanfang were terminally ill and had made the decision to end their lives together. This for many people went some way to explaining their behavior of leaving their possessions as they traveled the country. However, there were no medical records to confirm if they were suffering from any illness. And even if they were and did choose to end their own lives, it still does not explain why Zhang Zi Xin also had to die. Without any real answers for the senseless death of Zhang Zi Xin, it was only natural for people to pore over the evidence to find a reason why. The talk of cults, the mother being involved, or fatal illness have nothing to support them. For many, the connection with the incident in Shanghai is too difficult to ignore. But the issue was that Wang Zhenhua had been detained on July 1st. This was days before Liang Denghua and Xie Yanfang left Qingxi village with Zhang Zi Xin. The news of the arrest of Wang Zhenhua had already been made public. Throughout all the attention the case got in the media, Zhang Jun dealt with it as stoically as possible. He defended his ex-wife when suspicion fell on her. He defended his parents from people who blamed them for allowing Zhang Zi Xin to go off with two strangers. He had to fight back against lies and rumors that sprung up online about what happened, no matter how painful the time must have been for him. And as much as people want an answer as to why this all happened, why this young girl had to die is a question that will never have an answer. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment. And we hope to see you again for the next dark tale from the Middle Kingdom.